My sister-in-law lied and claimed I committed sexual assault, ruining my career and family, but years later her affair came out and now she's the one begging for mercy. I grew up in a middle-class family in Ohio, just me and my older brother Tyler, 5-year age gap between us. But despite that, we were incredibly close, the kind of close where other people would comment on it. When I was in elementary school, kids used to make fun of my stutter. It was bad enough that I'd avoid speaking in class entirely, take the bad participation grades just to avoid the embarrassment. Tyler shut that down whenever he saw it happening. He didn't do it with violence or intimidation. He just had this presence, this big brother energy that made bullies reconsider their choices real quick. More importantly, though, he didn't just protect me from other kids, he actually helped me fix the problem. Every single day after school, Tyler would sit with me for at least an hour. We'd do tongue twisters, practice reading out loud, work through exercises he'd researched online. The kid was in high school dealing with his own homework and sports and social life. But he made time for this every day, no exceptions. By the time I got to high school myself, my stutter was completely gone. People who met me then had no idea I'd ever had a speech problem. Tyler wasn't just my brother, he was my best friend, my role model, the reason I made it through my awkward years without completely falling apart. I looked up to him more than anyone else in my life. Here's the thing, though. Our parents definitely loved Tyler more. That's not me being bitter or dramatic, it's just facts. He was the star athlete at every level, pulled straight as without seeming to try, had that naturally outgoing personality that made everyone want to be around him. Teachers loved him, coaches loved him, girls loved him. I was the quiet kid with average grades who preferred books to sports. But I never resented the favoritism because Tyler never made me feel like I was less important. He included me in everything. When his friends came over, I wasn't the annoying little brother who got told to leave. I was part of the group. When he went to parties in high school, he'd bring me along and make sure I felt included. He built up my confidence in ways our parents never did. After college, we both ended up working at the same tech company. Total coincidence, but it felt right. We were in different departments, so it wasn't awkward or anything. We'd grab lunch together every single day in the cafeteria, hit the gym together 3 times a week, sometimes grab dinner after work. My co-workers used to joke that we were more like twins than brothers 5 years apart. Life was genuinely perfect. I had my career on track, I had my brother who was also my best friend, and everything just felt like it was falling into place exactly how it should. Then 3 years ago, Tyler met Vanessa at some company networking event. She worked in HR at one of our competitors' offices. From the very first moment I met her, something felt off. I can't even explain it properly. Just this gut instinct, this feeling in my stomach that something about her wasn't right, that she was performing rather than being genuine. Vanessa was the type of person who flirted with everyone. And I mean everyone, but especially men. Didn't matter if they were single, married, old, young. She'd turn on this charm and make these comments that rode the line between friendly and inappropriate. She also seemed to really enjoy creating little bits of drama between people and then sitting back to watch it unfold like it had nothing to do with her. Our office had this big Christmas party one year, maybe 6 months after Tyler started dating her. Vanessa spent a significant portion of the night dancing inappropriately close with several of Tyler's coworkers. This was while Tyler was off at the bar getting drinks for both of them. When he came back and saw her grinding on some guy from accounting, he didn't even seem bothered, just handed her the drink and laughed it off. I pulled Tyler aside later that night and mentioned that her behavior seemed a bit much. He got defensive immediately, said I was being judgmental, and that she was just friendly and outgoing, that not everyone was as reserved as me. That stung a bit, but I let it go. He was clearly into her, and I didn't want to be the brother who couldn't be happy for him. My girlfriend Lauren picked up on Vanessa's behavior too. We'd been dating for about 2 years at that point, living together for 6 months. Lauren is one of those people who reads situations really well, picks up on things most people miss. At Tyler and Vanessa's engagement party, she pulled me aside and pointed out how Vanessa kept making really inappropriate comments about the male servers. We're talking explicit stuff about their appearances loud enough that people nearby could hear. This was right in front of Tyler, who was mingling with his friends and didn't seem to notice or care. Lauren overheard Vanessa telling a group of her girlfriends that one particular server was incredibly attractive and she wouldn't mind getting his number. She said it while literally wearing her engagement ring, planning a wedding to my brother. When Lauren told me about it, I decided enough was enough. I pulled Vanessa aside privately away from the party and addressed it as calmly as I could. Told her that the comments she was making were inappropriate and disrespectful to Tyler. She laughed right in my face, not a nervous laugh either, a dismissive, condescending laugh like I was some uptight idiot who couldn't take a joke, said I was being way too serious and that she was just having fun with her friends, that everyone makes comments like that and it didn't mean anything. I went to Tyler later and told him about the whole thing. He didn't want to hear it, said I was being too protective, and that Vanessa had a different sense of humor than what I was used to, that I needed to lighten up and stop analyzing everything she said. We actually got into a bit of an argument about it, which was rare for us. I dropped it after that because I didn't want to damage my relationship with my brother over his fiancée. They got married about 8 months later. Typical wedding, nothing too fancy. I was Tyler's best man, gave a speech, did all the traditional stuff. I tried to be supportive even though I had serious reservations about Vanessa. This was Tyler's choice and I wanted him to be happy. Things started getting really weird about 6 months after the wedding. Vanessa began showing up at my house unannounced, always when Lauren wasn't home, which seemed like more than just coincidence. The first time it happened, she claimed she was in the neighborhood and wanted to return a book she'd borrowed from Lauren weeks ago. Seemed innocent enough, so I let her in for a few minutes. She didn't just drop off the book and leave, though. She sat down on my couch, made herself comfortable, started asking me personal questions about work and whether Lauren and I were happy. When I gave short, polite answers, she scooted closer on the couch, close enough that I instinctively moved away. The second time she showed up, her excuse was that she desperately needed to use the bathroom because she'd been shopping nearby and couldn't make it home. Again, seemed believable enough, but after using the bathroom, she didn't leave. She found me in the living room and sat down, this time even closer than before. Started making small talk about random stuff, asking if I wanted to watch a movie since Lauren wasn't home yet. That's when I realized this wasn't accidental. The pattern was too obvious. She was specifically choosing times when Lauren was at work or out with friends. She was inventing reasons to be in my house, and she was getting physically closer each time, testing boundaries. I told Lauren everything that night, every detail of both visits, every weird comment. Every time Vanessa sat too close or stayed too long, Lauren wasn't surprised. She said she'd been getting weird vibes from Vanessa for a while and had actually been worried something like this might happen. We agreed right then that I should never be alone with Vanessa. Not ever. If she showed up and Lauren wasn't home, I wouldn't let her in. No exceptions. Lauren also suggested we install a Ring doorbell camera. Said it would be good to have a record of these visits in case things escalated. I thought she was being a bit paranoid at the time, but agreed anyway. We installed it that weekend. After that, whenever Vanessa showed up at my door, I'd make excuses through the Ring intercom without even opening the door. Sorry, I'm on an important work call. Sorry, I'm about to head out. Sorry, now's not a good time. She definitely wasn't happy about it. I could see her face on the camera, the annoyance in her expression when I'd turn her away, but I didn't care. My relationship with Lauren and my own peace of mind were more important than whatever game Vanessa was playing. The incident that changed absolutely everything happened 3 months ago. It was a Tuesday evening around 7. Lauren had a late meeting at work and wasn't going to be home until at least 9. I was making dinner when my doorbell rang, checked the Ring camera, and saw Vanessa standing there visibly crying. My first instinct was to ignore it, stick to the rule about never being alone with her, but she looked genuinely upset, tears streaming down her face, and I thought maybe something had actually happened. Maybe she and Tyler had a serious fight. Maybe there was a real emergency. Against every instinct screaming at me not to, I opened the door. She came in immediately crying about how she and Tyler had this huge fight, and she didn't know where else to go. Said her friends weren't answering their phones and she just needed someone to talk to for a few minutes until she calmed down. I told her to wait in the living room while I called Tyler to come get her. Tyler's phone went straight to voicemail. Tried 3 more times. Same result. I sent him a text saying Vanessa was at my place and he needed to come get her as soon as possible. Then I went back to the living room, staying near the doorway instead of sitting down. Vanessa was on my couch still crying, but not as intensely as she started going on about her marriage problems. How Tyler worked too much, how he didn't pay enough attention to her, how she felt lonely all the time, standard relationship complaint stuff that made me uncomfortable because I really didn't want to be in the middle of their marriage issues. Then she patted the couch cushion next to her. Said I should sit down because standing in the doorway was weird. I stayed exactly where I was, said I was fine standing. She kept talking, and after a few minutes, she moved closer to where I was standing, sat on the arm of the couch nearest to me, put her hand on my arm while she was talking about how Tyler didn't understand her the way other people did. I moved away immediately, walked to the other side of the room, told her she needed to calm down and wait for Tyler to get my message. She followed me, actually stood up and followed me across the room, sat on the armrest of the chair I'd moved near, put her hand on my shoulder this time. That's when I'd had enough. I stood up, moved completely away from her, stayed standing near the front door, told her in the clearest terms possible to stay on the couch and wait for Tyler. No more moving around, no more touching, just wait. She finally seemed to get the message and went back to the couch, though. She had this look on her face like she was annoyed I wasn't playing along with whatever she was trying to do. Tyler showed up about 30 minutes later. I'd sent him 2 more texts and he'd finally responded saying he was on his way. The second Tyler walked through the door, Vanessa's entire demeanor changed instantly. The crying stopped. She was suddenly cheerful and smiling, acting like we'd just been having a pleasant conversation while she waited for him. Tyler looked confused by the sudden mood change but didn't question it. They left within 5 minutes. The whole thing felt wrong. The timing, the mood shift, all of it. I called Lauren as soon as they were gone and told her everything that happened. She was furious that I'd let Vanessa in at all, even though she understood why I did. We both agreed that was the absolute last time, no matter what excuse Vanessa showed up with. A week later, I pulled Tyler aside at work and told him about Vanessa's behavior. How she'd followed me around the room, kept touching me despite me moving away, how her mood completely changed the second he arrived. I expected him to at least hear me out, maybe have a conversation with his wife about boundaries. He got defensive immediately. Said I was trying to cause problems in his marriage, that I'd always had an issue with Vanessa, and now I was making stuff up to turn him against her. I tried to explain that I wasn't making anything up, that I'd never wanted to cause problems, but he wasn't interested in hearing it. We ended up in a full argument in the parking lot at work. He drove off angry, and we didn't speak for 3 days. That's when Vanessa apparently decided to escalate her campaign against me. Over the next couple weeks, she started telling people at their church group that I had been the one making advances toward her all along, that I'd been flirting inappropriately, making suggestive comments, trying to manufacture situations where we'd be alone together. The lies were so twisted, so backwards from reality that I actually laughed when I first heard about them. Then I realized how serious this was. She was systematically destroying my reputation and people were believing her. I found out the full extent of her lies from an acquaintance who goes to their church. He pulled me aside at the grocery store one afternoon, asked me directly if something was going on between me and Tyler because of issues with Vanessa. When I asked what he meant, he laid it all out. Vanessa had been telling people I'd made unwanted advances, that she'd had to shut me down multiple times, that she was uncomfortable being around me now. My first instinct was to confront her immediately. Went straight to their house that same day, knocked on the door, ready to call her out on every lie she'd been spreading. Tyler answered, and I could tell from his expression that he already knew why I was there. Asked to speak with Vanessa. She came to the door acting confused, like she had no idea why I was upset. I laid it all out right there on their front porch. Told them both exactly what I'd heard, how Vanessa had been lying to people about me, how it was disgusting that she would spread those kinds of accusations when she knew the truth. Big mistake confronting her like that. She immediately started crying, backing away from me like I was some kind of threat. Said I was being aggressive and scaring her, that she'd only mentioned to a few close friends that my behavior made her uncomfortable. And now, I was showing up at her house angry. Tyler stepped in front of her, told me I needed to leave. I tried to explain, tried to tell my side, but Vanessa was crying harder now, holding on to Tyler's arm like she was terrified. The victim act was flawless. Tyler believed every second of it. He told me to get off his property before he made me leave. The look in his eyes made it clear he wasn't bluffing. After that, Tyler cut me off completely. At work, he wouldn't even acknowledge my existence. Would see me coming down the hallway and turn around to go a different direction. Canceled all our gym sessions without explanation. When I texted him trying to talk, he left me on read. The brother who'd been my best friend my entire life was treating me like a stranger. Worse than a stranger, actually. Our parents noticed something was wrong. Tyler told them his version of events, heavily filtered through Vanessa's lies. They started calling me, asking questions about why Tyler was so upset, what had happened between us. I tried explaining my side of things, but I could hear the doubt in their voices. Tyler had always been the favored one, the perfect son. Why would they start questioning him now? I thought maybe if I gave it time, if I backed off and let things cool down, Tyler would eventually see through Vanessa's manipulation, that he'd realize his wife had been lying and we could work through this. I was still holding on to hope that my brother was in there somewhere underneath all the lies Vanessa had fed him. I had absolutely no idea how much worse things were about to get or how wrong I was about having any chance to fix this. Last week, everything exploded. It was a Friday morning early. Really early. Lauren had left for her 6 a.m. yoga class that she goes to every Friday without fail. She'd kissed me goodbye around 5:45, told me to go back to sleep since I didn't have to be at work until 9. I was actually still asleep when the pounding started. Not knocking, pounding, aggressive, violent pounding on my front door that jerked me awake with my heart already racing. grabbed my phone off the nightstand, and saw 3 missed calls from my mom and 2 from my dad, all within the last 20 minutes. That sick feeling of dread hit my stomach immediately. Threw on sweatpants and a shirt, ran downstairs trying to figure out what emergency could have my parents calling that many times. Looked through the peephole and saw Tyler standing on my porch. His face was red, jaw clenched tight, whole body radiating a kind of fury I'd never seen from him before. In that split second before I opened the door, I knew this was going to be bad. Opened the door, and Tyler's fist connected with my face before I even processed that he was swinging. The impact was shocking, sent me stumbling backward into my own entryway. Vision went blurry, sharp pain exploding across my cheekbone and nose, tasted blood immediately. He came at me again, kept swinging, landing punches anywhere he could reach, my face, my ribs, my arms when I tried to block. I'm not a fighter. Never been in a real fight in my entire life. Tyler was the athlete, the one who played sports. I'd always been more into books than physical confrontation, but when your own brother is attacking you in your home at 6 in the morning, you don't really get a choice about defending yourself. I tried to grab his arms to stop the punches, tried to push him away without actually hurting him. We ended up grappling, wrestling on my hallway floor. The small table by my door got knocked over, picture frames crashing to the ground and shattering. At one point, I managed to get some leverage and twisted away from him hard. That's when I heard it. This sickening pop from his shoulder. Tyler screamed and immediately rolled away from me, clutching his left arm against his chest. The sound he made was pure pain, nothing like the angry yelling from seconds before. I scrambled to my feet, backed away from him, trying to catch my breath. My nose was definitely bleeding, could feel it dripping down my face. My lip was split, blood in my mouth. My ribs hurt where he'd landed several solid punches. Tyler was on the ground, curled up on his side, holding his shoulder and making this awful groaning sound. Stood there for a minute, just trying to process what had just happened. My brother had attacked me, actually physically attacked me in my own house. And now he was injured on my floor, and I had no idea what to do. Call an ambulance, try to help him, demand to know why he'd done this. Before I could make a decision, Lauren came back through the front door. She'd forgotten her water bottle, had only been gone maybe 10 minutes, walked in to find me standing there covered in blood, Tyler on the ground, screaming and holding his shoulder. Broken glass and overturned furniture everywhere. Total chaos. She froze for maybe 2 seconds, eyes wide, taking in the scene. Then she pulled out her phone and called our parents. She was in shock, panicking, didn't know what else to do. In hindsight, calling the police would have been smarter. At least then there would have been an official record of what happened, but Lauren just reacted on instinct. Our parents showed up within 20 minutes. Tyler was still on the floor, though he'd gone quiet except for occasional hisses of pain. When he moved wrong, I'd tried to get him some ice for his shoulder, but he'd refused to let me anywhere near him. Just sat there on my floor, glaring at me with pure hatred. When our parents came through the door, they went straight to Tyler. My mom dropped to her knees next to him, asking if he was okay, checking his shoulder. My dad started examining the injury, trying to figure out how serious it was. I was standing there bleeding from multiple places on my face, and neither of them even glanced at me. After they'd confirmed Tyler needed to go to the hospital for his shoulder, my mom finally looked up at me. The expression on her face made me actually take a step backward. It wasn't concern or confusion about what had happened. It was disgust. Pure, undisguised disgust directed at me. Then she said, I must have done something to provoke Vanessa, because why else would she make such serious accusations about me? That's when I learned what this was all about. My dad filled in the details while my mom helped Tyler to his feet. Vanessa had told Tyler 2 days ago, apparently, that during the night she came to my house crying about their fight, I had tried to assault her, claimed I'd forced myself on her, tried to kiss her, grabbed her arms when she tried to leave, said she'd only escaped because she heard Tyler's car pulling up outside, which gave her the chance to run out the door before I could do anything worse. She told Tyler she'd been too traumatized to say anything right away, that she'd been having nightmares about it, couldn't sleep, kept seeing it happen over and over, that she'd finally broken down and told him because she couldn't keep it inside anymore. Every single word was a lie. None of it happened, not even remotely close. My Ring doorbell camera had recorded that entire evening. The video would have shown exactly what happened, would have proved beyond any shadow of doubt that Vanessa was lying, but I'd never thought to specifically save the footage because nothing had actually happened. The Ring camera automatically overwrites old footage after 60 days, and by the time these accusations came up, that video was long gone. I tried explaining all of this to my parents, told them about the camera, how the footage would have proved my innocence if it still existed, explained in detail exactly what really happened that night, how Vanessa had followed me around my house despite me asking her to stay seated, how she'd touched me multiple times when I moved away, how her whole demeanor instantly changed the second Tyler walked through the door. They didn't believe a single word. My dad said the camera footage was awfully convenient to mention now that it didn't exist anymore. My mom said I was making up stories because I knew there was no way to verify what really happened. Tyler just stood there between them, holding his injured shoulder, looking at me like I was some kind of monster. My dad said he'd always suspected something was off about how close Tyler and I were, said it seemed fake, that he'd always thought I was jealous of Tyler's success in his marriage, that this proved he'd been right all along. That was the breaking point. That was the moment I knew there was no coming back from this. My own family had chosen to believe a manipulative liar over me without even considering that I might be telling the truth. They'd made their decision before they even walked through my door that morning. Lauren and I had actually been discussing a job offer I'd received a few weeks earlier. Company in Colorado, significant pay increase, better benefits, opportunity for advancement. We'd been on the fence about it because it meant leaving everything we knew, leaving family behind. That decision suddenly became very easy. When I told my parents we were moving to Colorado, you'd think I'd announced I was committing a crime. My mom started crying, said I was running away instead of facing what I'd done, that I was a coward who couldn't even admit my mistakes. Dad said I was tearing the family apart, that I was choosing my pride over my own brother. Tyler threatened me directly, said if I ever tried to contact him, Vanessa, or our parents again, he'd finish what he started that morning. The threat was clear, and I believed him. The brother who'd spent hours helping me overcome my stutter, who'd protected me from bullies, who'd been my best friend for my entire life, was threatening me with more violence. We moved within 2 weeks, didn't tell any of them our exact address in Colorado, just the city, blocked all their numbers, deleted my social media accounts, cut every single tie that connected me to my family. Going scorched earth felt extreme at the time, but looking back, it was absolutely the right call. The first few months in Colorado were rough emotionally. I'd wake up some mornings and instinctively think about texting Tyler about something, then remember that relationship was dead. I'd see something funny and want to share it with him, then have to remind myself that the person I'd grown up with didn't exist anymore. Lauren was incredible through all of it. She never once suggested I try to reconcile or give them another chance. She just supported me while I grieved the loss of my family. Work helped. The new job was demanding enough that I didn't have time to dwell on everything during the day. Made new friends, started building a life that had nothing to do with Ohio or the family that had abandoned me. Lauren and I got closer through the whole experience. She'd seen my family at their absolute worst and stayed by my side anyway. We got married last year, small ceremony in a beautiful venue in the mountains, just Lauren's family and our close friends. Her parents walked us both down the aisle together since my parents obviously weren't there. It was perfect. Exactly what we wanted. No drama, no toxic family members creating scenes, just people who genuinely loved and supported us. Life became peaceful, in a way I hadn't realized was possible. No more walking on eggshells around Vanessa. No more watching everything I said or did to avoid being twisted into something I wasn't. No more family dinners where I was clearly the least favorite son. Just peace. Writing this out is bringing back painful memories, but I needed to get it off my chest. I miss the brother I grew up with, but that person doesn't exist anymore. Lauren says Tyler's actions showed his true character, someone who would believe the worst about his brother without proof and jump straight to violence instead of having an actual conversation. I'm done living in the past, focused on building a life with people who actually trust and support me. Wasn't planning to post about this at all, but recent events changed my mind. Might post more updates depending on how things play out. Update 1. First off, thanks to everyone who commented and sent messages on my original post. A lot of you shared similar stories about toxic family members, and it honestly helped knowing I wasn't alone in this. Several people asked why I didn't try harder to prove my innocence or save that ring footage. Here's the thing. When your own family looks you in the eye and decides you're guilty without evidence, no amount of proof will change their minds. They already made their choice. I wasn't about to beg people who should have had my back from the start. Now, for why I'm posting this update, a mutual friend from college, Chris, reached out to me last week completely out of the blue. We'd stayed in touch after I moved to Colorado, but we mostly just exchanged messages on birthdays and holidays. He knew bits and pieces about what went down with my family, but never got the full story until recently. Turns out Vanessa's entire world is currently imploding in spectacular fashion, and the truth about everything is finally coming out in ways I never could have predicted. About a month ago, Tyler discovered that Vanessa was having an affair. And not just any affair with some random guy. She'd been sleeping with his dad's best friend, David. This man is in his late 50s, has been close to my parents and Tyler for over 30 years. He was at Tyler's high school graduation, his college graduation, his wedding. He was practically family. According to Chris, who got the details from several people still back in Ohio, Tyler found explicit messages on Vanessa's phone during what was supposed to be a normal Tuesday evening at home. He'd apparently noticed Vanessa being secretive with her phone for weeks, always keeping it face down, taking calls in other rooms, guarding it like it contained state secrets. One night, while she was in the shower, Tyler checked her phone. What he found was devastating. Hundreds of messages between Vanessa and David going back almost a full year. Explicit photos, detailed plans for meetups, conversations about how exciting the affair was because of the risk involved. The messages showed Vanessa was the one initiating most of their encounters. She'd messaged David to arrange hotel meetings during times when she told Tyler she was at yoga class, or running errands, or meeting friends. The messages also showed her making fun of Tyler, calling him clueless, laughing about how easy it was to lie to him. Chris said some of the messages were particularly cruel. Vanessa had written things like how David made her feel desired in ways Tyler never could, how Tyler was too focused on work to notice what was happening right under his nose, how stupid Tyler was for believing everything she said. When Tyler confronted her with the evidence, she apparently tried her usual manipulation tactics. First, she claimed the messages were just jokes. Friendly banter that Tyler was misunderstanding. When he didn't buy that, she tried gaslighting him about their relationship, said Tyler had been emotionally unavailable, worked too many hours, never paid attention to her needs, claimed she'd felt lonely and unwanted, that David had been there for her when Tyler wasn't. Tyler wasn't having it. The messages made it crystal clear that Vanessa had been the pursuer, the initiator, the one eagerly planning each affair encounter. There was no way to spin this as anything other than what it was, a deliberate year-long betrayal. What happened next still makes me sick to think about. Tyler completely lost it and physically attacked Vanessa. Their neighbor heard screaming and glass breaking around midnight. When Vanessa tried to run out the front door, Tyler grabbed her and slammed her into a wall. The neighbors saw it through their window and called the police. By the time cops arrived, Vanessa had broken ribs, a concussion, and multiple bruises. Tyler was arrested on aggravated assault charges. His lawyer told him to take a plea deal since there were witnesses and Vanessa's injuries were severe. Meanwhile, David's wife found out about everything and went nuclear. She posted screenshots of Vanessa's messages on social media where Vanessa had literally bragged about manipulating. Tyler called him an idiot for never suspecting anything. There were messages about how exciting it was sleeping with an older, successful guy while her husband paid all her bills. Vanessa tried damage control by deleting her social media accounts. But the screenshots had already spread through their entire social circle. Multiple women came forward saying Vanessa had tried to seduce their husbands too. Even her own father cut contact after finding out she'd been sleeping with his friend of 3 decades. Yesterday, my parents called from a new number since I'd blocked all their old ones. They were crying, apologizing for not believing me about Vanessa. My mom said she should have known something was wrong when Vanessa kept changing her story about what supposedly happened at my house. Dad admitted they favored Tyler blindly and failed me as parents. Then came the real reason for their call. They need help with Tyler's legal fees. The house they remortgaged for Tyler's wedding is already underwater financially, and their retirement savings are completely drained from supporting Tyler and Vanessa's lifestyle over the years. They asked if I could loan them $25,000 for a better lawyer since Tyler's public defender is pushing him to take the plea deal. The conversation with my parents brought up feelings I'd been trying to avoid for months. Part of me remembered the brother who had protected me as a kid, the one who spent countless hours helping me overcome my stutter when he could have been doing anything else, the Tyler who made sure I was included, who built up my confidence, who was genuinely my best friend for most of my life. That version of Tyler would never have believed such horrible lies about me without proof, would never have attacked me in my own home without at least asking for my side of the story, would never have chosen a manipulative wife over the brother who'd been there his entire life. But I also had to remember the Tyler who'd shown up at my house at 6 in the morning and beat me bloody based on nothing but Vanessa's word. The Tyler who dislocated his own shoulder because he was so consumed with rage that he couldn't think straight. And now, Regardless of Vanessa's betrayal and lies, he'd responded to discovering her affair by nearly killing her. That showed a pattern of violence, a dangerous lack of control that couldn't be ignored or excused. The truth is, both versions of Tyler existed. The protective brother from my childhood and the violent man who'd hurt both me and Vanessa were the same person. I had to accept that reality and decide which version I wanted in my life, or more accurately, whether I wanted any version of Tyler in my life at all, given what he'd done. Lauren thinks we need to keep our boundaries firm. She pointed out that my parents only apologized after discovering Vanessa's true nature, not because they realized how badly they hurt me. She's worried they'll drag us back into drama right when we finally built a peaceful life here. I haven't given them an answer yet. The vindictive part of me wants to refuse the same way they refuse to hear my side, but the part that remembers my childhood with Tyler feels guilty. He was there for me when I needed him growing up, and now I'm considering abandoning him at his lowest point. Chris keeps me updated on everything happening back home. Vanessa moved in with a cousin in Nevada and is playing victim on social media, conveniently leaving out her affair and all the lies she told. David's wife filed for divorce and their adult children refuse to speak to him. Tyler is being held without bail due to being considered a flight risk. My parents keep pressuring me for an answer about the money. They say Tyler was just protecting his wife like any husband would, and now he needs his brother's help. But Lauren made a good point. I would never attack someone without evidence, and she would never falsely accuse someone of assault. Writing this out has helped me think through everything more clearly. I'll post another update once I make a final decision about helping Tyler. Thanks again for all the support and advice. Update 2. This will be my final update. After weeks of thinking it over and lots of discussions with Lauren, I made my decision about helping Tyler. I know some of you won't agree with this, but I'm not helping with his legal expenses. While I get that Tyler was manipulated and betrayed by Vanessa, his violent responses in both situations showed a dangerous pattern I can't ignore. He assaulted me without any evidence based entirely on Vanessa's lies. Then he nearly killed her over the affair. Yes, Vanessa is a manipulative person who destroyed multiple lives, but Tyler's violence could have ended in tragedy both times. That's not something I can just overlook because we're related. I wrote Tyler a letter explaining my decision. Told him I still care about him as my brother, but his choices have consequences that he needs to face. I also said I hoped he would work on his anger issues during whatever sentence he ends up serving. He never responded to the letter, but Chris told me Tyler cried while reading it in jail. My parents had to sell their SUV and take out a second mortgage to pay for Tyler's lawyer. He eventually accepted a plea deal for 18 months. With mandatory anger management counseling, Vanessa tried testifying against him to push for a harsher sentence, but her credibility was completely destroyed when her affair and history of false accusations came out during proceedings. Vanessa's life fell apart spectacularly after everything became public. David's wife made sure everyone in their community saw those messages and photos. Vanessa lost her job after several people reported her history of workplace harassment. She tried playing victim on social media, posting about surviving domestic violence, but people kept commenting with evidence of her affairs and lies until she had to disable all her accounts entirely. Last I heard, she's working as a server in Nevada somewhere. My mom still sends emotional messages about family loyalty. Says I'm punishing Tyler for protecting his wife the same way I'd protect Lauren. Dad calls me selfish for abandoning my brother during his darkest time. But, like Lauren pointed out, she would never falsely accuse someone of assault, and I would never physically attack someone without solid proof. The biggest update is that Lauren is 3 months pregnant with our first child. This news reinforced our decision to maintain no contact with my family. I can't risk exposing my kid to Tyler's violent tendencies or my parents' toxic enabling behavior. Some might call this harsh, but protecting my own family's peace has to come first. Chris still keeps me updated about Tyler. Apparently, prison is changing him, and he's taking his counseling seriously. My parents want me to visit him, saying he asks about me often, but I'm not ready. Don't know if I'll ever be ready, honestly. The brother I knew died the day he chose violence over trust. Lauren's family has been incredible through all of this. Her parents treated me like a son from the beginning and are excitedly preparing to be grandparents. We have weekly dinners with them and her siblings. This is what real family support actually feels like. No manipulation, no choosing sides, just genuine love and respect. Looking back over these months since my first post, I've realized something important. Being related by blood doesn't mean you're obligated to endure toxic behavior or violence. Sometimes the healthiest choice is walking away from people who hurt you, even if they're family, especially if they're family.